for pound great, the sensational,
the one, the only, the undisputed, the undefeated heavyweight champion of the world.
TrueCoreTv presents the champions of the world.
Hosted by the DINUNZIO brothers, Vago and HD.
The show that gets you to know some good people doing some good things. We're going to ask our guests some questions and see what their thoughts and feelings are on a wide range of topics which we feel should be talked about more, focusing on mental, physical, and spiritual health, truth, freedom, love, and the warrior spirit.
Before we start, we want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Zio's Natural Organic.
I'd like to introduce our guest, one of our top contenders to be the next champion of the world. She's an extremely talented violinist, yoga teacher, a truth researcher, and student of life. A scholar of melody, one of the pioneers of the 432 Hertz frequency movement, a healer and teacher. It is an honor and pleasure to have her on the show. Please welcome my dear friend and music affiliate, SUZKA.
Thanks for having me. Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
So in line with our sponsor, we know you're into natural organic food, as we are. Why is it such a priority for you?
Wow. Well, I think for the most part, the food system right now is just contaminated. A lot of the GMOs and the fact that what we're eating isn't raw, it's not coming from the land, a lot of it. And if it is, it's been changed. So genetically manufactured, and I feel that it's our duty to try to be as natural as possible and eat as clean as we can.
Next question, how important are outdoor activities to you? Mother Nature, hike, biking, surfing, snowboarding, etc.
It's everything. It's my sanctuary. It's where I connect with all the spirits, God, whatever you want to call it, grounds me, helps me to get back to who I actually am. I feel if I'm around computers for too long or the phone, I'm a different person, and I really feel like I need nature. I grew up in the mountains. I used to ski race, so it's a huge part of who I am. Absolutely.
Dope. So do you watch mainstream news?
As little as possible, mostly because it just goes around in circles, and I really don't like watching the same thing over and over again. I find it's part of the hypnosis and trying to brainwash us into a certain way of thinking. And a lot of it is fake news. It's all a lot of crap. So every once in a while, just to see what's going on or what people might be talking about, so that I can come up with my own opinion and decide what's actually fact and not. And I'll usually research it and find out what's actually going on. So I always make an effort to dig a little deeper. Yeah, super important.
Does anyone still believe in the mainstream news? Like, it's at that point, right? It's like
I don't know. Hope not.
Do you know any do you know any real journalists? Like it's hard to come by these days.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I feel like everyone's out to shock value or out to get something for themselves almost. Like they're not really just genuinely trying to tell us what is going on. And it's also run by certain people with money, and so it's all already biased, right? Yeah. And I think we can kind of narrow it down to a few people that are running the media and those stations. So it's completely biased, and it trains us to see people a certain way, and I think that's really dangerous to us as humanity. Like, we need to see one another as we actually are in real life. So yeah, I encourage people to, I mean, it's good to see maybe what's happening in your neighborhood. If there's a bear or something, I like to know that kind of stuff. But other than that, no.
Right. Yeah. Fear porn, right? Like too much.
Yeah, I have nightmares. Like if I watch news, especially at night, it affects everything.
Oh, my kids do too. They big time.
Right? It's huge. So I like to keep the vibes high as possible, positive. So as much as, you don't want to turn a blind eye to things that are going on, it's also, you don't want to get sucked into that world either. It's going to be very dark. It's hard to climb out of. And I feel that it also affects a lot of people with anxiety and depression. That's coming up a lot, I'm seeing in social media. I feel that has a lot to do with it.
Word.
Yeah.
Along the similar lines, there's a line in a Mobb Deep song by Prodigy, rest in peace, says, there's a war going on outside. No man is safe from. Do you believe there's a war on consciousness?
Absolutely, yes. There's a war on our mind, our souls. Yeah, that's what I mean with the programming, the social media even. The fact that we are addicted to our phones. I'm a part of it too, so I'm not dissing anybody, but you know what I mean? We feel like, we feel like, oh, if I'm not posting and I'm letting people know what's going on, I'm like somehow not valid, or, you know, I don't exist, which is, of course, we know, a joke and not true. So yeah, absolutely, because I feel, again, when you go into nature and you're sitting by a lake and you're in silence and you're just meditating or just sitting there, don't have to be doing anything, you get into this completely different space, and it's peace and it's love and it feels great, you know? Yeah, so that, again, and as soon as you step away from that, there is constantly media, propaganda, commercials, people, especially for women, telling you what you need to look like, what you need to consume, what clothes you gotta have. Like, it's just endless. I'm just so sick of it. I'm like, come on, just leave me alone.
Yeah, you already touched on it. Social media, like it, love it, hate it.
Yeah, it's different every day, right? I wake up, I'm like, I'm not gonna talk to them, not gonna post anything, not gonna share anything today. I'm just, it's my day. Exactly. You know, me and my cats, we're just gonna hang out, talk to my friends. But yeah, like I said, you want to stay relevant too, right? It's that fine line.
It's a fine line for sure.
However, on that note, I have also researched some of the people behind the social media and who have started this in Silicon Valley, and they literally say, do not be on there and delete your accounts. So when you hear those guys saying, it's like, why?
They create it and then they tell you not to use it.
Yeah.
Right.
And
it's research, like dopamine hits every time you
exactly.
get likes and all, and
the conditioning, the social conditioning. And back to your question, that's the war on consciousness. It's changing your brain literally with every like and every comment, even, and the interaction that you're having with this person or whoever comments. It's not real life. So it's whatever mood you're in. Notice the mood.
This is so like ego-driven, like
trying to prove their point. I'm right, you're right. No, you know, and it's just so okay, chill. I was just trying to say something. You know, it's all good. You know, and like a lot to do with mood.
Trying to put their ego in check and realizing that it's like, you know, that's probably the enemy, one of the biggest enemies you got, and
But that's the psychology, right? They know how to feed it. They know that we all have narcissistic tendencies in that way of like, we want to be heard, we want to connect, right? So that's a natural, that's our reason for being on this planet, is to connect with one another. So if we can't do that, or we're not doing that, we definitely are going to feel isolated, lonely, and those are like the scariest things, isolation.
And sometimes you feel the most alone, you know, the most disconnected.
Absolutely.
When you're on social media for like 2 hours, like I've been just in it 2 hours. Like.
And look at people with like millions of followers. You think, oh, they must have it so great, or they're so famous. They have, no, they might have it the worst. A lot of them tend to be alcoholics or addicts of some kind that are much worse than anybody could imagine. And that's even sadder to me, I feel, to be that disconnected, where you can't even find any common ground.
Right.
Yeah.
We're going to jump around a little bit here. Being a yoga teacher, do you feel like the true essence of yoga in the modern world has been lost or watered down? Absolutely.
I've left a few studios that I've worked for just because, they started doing beer yoga, or I'm like, what? Like, I'm sorry, but I can't be doing safe things when I'm drunk. Like, you know, so definitely. I'm from very old school. I grew up with, like as a child, going to yoga camps and followed a man named Baba Haridas, who was a silent monk. And it was much more organic then, and everyone's running around in the woods, you know, and in the trees and eating oatmeal and stuff, but it wasn't Lululemon pants and all this kind of fashion and everything. So I feel we have lost it. It's still, you know, it's still good to go because you can still get a lot out of it, but I think it is really important to just be and trust the process of yourself and not worry about any of the outside things that are being brought into it. like and the look of what you're gonna get out of it. Like, oh, I'm gonna look good if I do this or that, or
right.
you know?
The true essence of yoga is not to do with the physical, really. It's, well,
not at all, and that's where I feel, we have lost the plot, because it's about being relaxed enough to be in that mindset where you can meditate. So that is yoga.
Union.
Yeah, the union, mind, body, soul, right?
Is there, there's so many different like styles and stuff now out there. Like, is there anything that you really feel in, like I get everything I guess is under an umbrella now.
No, I feel right now like I'm trained in Hatha. I got 10 years ago, got my certification in Hatha. But I'm feeling more the yin side. Yin yoga is really beneficial simply for the fact of bringing up the feminine side and being more receptive and open to receiving from the universe and ourselves, and compassion and all those kinds of things, which doesn't happen as easily when you're doing fast poses and movements and things. So when yin, you're really forced to stay in poses long enough where you have to face the things that are coming up. So you're uncomfortable, you've been there for a long time, you're like, okay, when is this pose gonna be over? And that's the mind meditation that has to start beginning, where you just have to accept, and you have to release, and you have to let go. And I think that's, I mean, for me, I personally love it, and I feel it's beneficial today.
Yeah, no, I love yoga too.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So yeah, yin yoga is the way for me right now. The last 5-6 years for sure. Yeah.
Nice. Again, switching up a little bit. Well, not really. Do you believe in free will or destiny, or locked fate? Fate is locked. You know,
fate is locked.
You know.
That's a really philosophical question. Wow, that goes deep. A free will to a certain extent. Again, like if we weren't stuck in this system, we would have a lot more free will. I feel, again, that's, we have certain choices that we can do, and we can step out of that system, but that's, you gotta find that balance and that way of having your free will and also working with everything else that's already happening around you. So unless you're completely off grid and you found that magical place, utopia, where you can just exist happily in your treehouse somewhere. And, I don't know. As far as destiny being locked, I feel whatever's yours is yours already. I don't feel you have to fight very hard for it. So in that way, as long as you're true to yourself and you're in a pure state and pure heart, like you're coming from a place that's of purity. So again, it's not ego-based or anything else. You're more likely to get closer to that path of your true destiny. So I don't know if that answers that question, but.
No, that's something I've been always.
Yeah, that's a deep one. Right? I mean, you could,
Is it, and then like, oh, it's destiny. You know, you meet that person, you have that connection, but then it's like the whole free will thing. I still don't, know. Yeah. But it's like, okay, it's a tough one, but like many people throw it these days, like, oh, it's destiny. So what do you mean? Like, exactly
Absolutely.
And then you go even deeper sometimes, and then like you hear stories of cats like being in situations where they were told this exact so specific a situation is going to happen to them. I've heard these stories that come from pretty credible sources, and I'm like, whoa.
Like they saw it happening before it happened?
Like someone told them, this is going to happen to you.
Okay, like a psychic or somebody telling you. For sure. That's happened before as well to me, That is interesting, definitely. But I also think you can plant messages too. So if you go to a psychic, say, and they tell you something, you're going to start to think about that and manifest possibly what they've already told you. Right. So in that way, you have to be kind of careful with that one, but I also do feel like circumstances, people, situations, nothing is by accident. Everything does happen for a reason. Yeah. Good or bad, whatever it is, it's a learning lesson. It's something that you have to figure out why it happened. Exactly. You might have to be facing like your darkest shadow, the other side that you just didn't want to go into. And yeah, that's sometimes the part where we're like, oh, there's no way I manifested that. Well, maybe you did on some level, right? And I think that's where we have to be really honest with ourselves as to what part of this did we play in, you know? Because I mean, if you're gonna be totally safe, you can go and meditate in a cave for the rest of your life by yourself, and nothing is gonna happen to you. You're just gonna be, right? So it's being in this world and being in this physical form and experiencing everything around us that is helping us find out who we actually are, right? So by going through these experiences, it helps to build us, I feel. You know.
That's an interesting one because there's an ancient Indian, what is it? It's called Jyotish. I'm not sure if that's the right pronunciation, but it's like ancient Indian, I believe it is astrology, where they like, there's been cases, I think it was like a Deepak Chopra, it was a case where he walked in and they had like scrolls on certain people.
Oh.
Up to the point where he actually walked into that same astrologer's.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I mean.
So it's like written in the stars, right?
Right.
And I mean, I've heard that too, where they're like, well, your soul chooses to be here. Like, say you're born into a family where it's just chaos or something crazy is going on. I'm like, there's no way I chose this. But on some level, your soul did, right? So again, it's up to you to figure out what that experience, what you're going to do with that. What's the lesson that you're going to learn or share with others to help, again, elevate consciousness or whatever you feel you can do. I mean, I feel that's the purpose of everyone, is to elevate themselves.
And it's so hard because you're like, well, you know, your child's death or something, some scenario, you're like, how are you supposed to, a parent is supposed to believe that was supposed to happen?
Yeah.
Or, you know, so it's
it's a really tough thing for sure. And they're like, yeah, how do you believe in God or something if that's, you know, that kind of thing is happening? But that, again, is pushing us to that place of acceptance.
Right. I was going to say, what does true freedom feel or look like to you?
True freedom.
In a perfect world or whatever.
In a perfect world, wow. I think just truly being able to be yourself and move around in the world in a safe manner and be able to express yourself without judgment. Without hang-ups, without the conditioning. So being that pure, clean, baby mind state almost, where you're so naive, yet you can still have the wisdom, but you're not carrying the baggage from anything around you, and then you can just move about in the world in a free way where you're not following any rules or religion or way of being. That's the ultimate. And I feel like maybe if we were light bodies or something like that, we could experience that a lot easier. But again, since we're in this dense body, it's a little tougher to
a little more difficult
totally work like that.
And the whole control grid and just like,
So yeah, that would be freedom, not having to deal with computers and phones and, like I said before, just be able to move around and survive and exist and pick mangoes off the tree and be like,
not have to worry about paying rent.
Freedom, complete, from the monetary system, because these are all man-made things. It's not natural, right? So, again, as basic, as raw, as nature connected as possible.
Imaginary lines can't go across this line here. No.
No, can't be doing that.
You got a passport? You got your shit in check?
Like, what's that?
Maybe we'll let you through.
I've never, since I was a child, I never understood what borders are. I was like, why is there this thing and these people and like, we're handing over this piece of paper, and without that, again, you don't exist. And it just kind of freaked me out, and I think that's why I love music so much. It's because there are no boundaries or borders. I can go from Africa to Spain to China in one song, and no one can say anything because I did it. I decided to compose that or play that. So, that's freedom to me, right?
If you had any advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Whew, don't take shit so personally. Just don't take it personally.
That's a good one.
A lot of people do things around you, and it's really hard to not, reflect on yourself. Oh, it must have been me, or maybe I did something to deserve that, or whatever. Yeah. That's a big one, I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of being more objective, seeing things from the outside and realizing that, oh, just let that person own that. They can, you know, that's their thing.
Right.
Yeah.
What is your take on medicinal plants, or, you know?
So glad you went there. What's my take on medicinal plants? I think, I mean, I've experienced a few of them myself. I've worked with iboga, as you know, and ayahuasca, and I feel like they're amazing teachers, and they're put, again, on this planet for a reason. And again, being from the most natural realm, and they're a part of us, and when we ingest them, they give us information. And I think it's something that can save the planet, literally, at this point in time. So I would definitely advise anybody that's interested or curious about them to search deeper. It's helped me find all kinds of things I didn't even know were hiding in my mind, or repressed or suppressed ideas, emotions, and things, and opened up a whole new world that elevated me personally to a place of more acceptance, more compassion for myself and others. So yeah, and not to mention being able to realize that there's other dimensions around us, so we're not just in this 3D realm. Right. That's one of the biggest ones. But again, doing it safely is super important too. I'm not suggesting just, you know, taking ayahuasca by yourself and locking the door or something. That can be extremely dangerous, so do not do that. However, working with proper shamans, going to the place of origin where it comes from, people that are practicing it safely and know what they're doing, it's like the equivalent of 20 years of therapy. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Yeah. Is that the kind of plant medicine you're speaking of?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So iboga being one of them, ayahuasca for sure, and even marijuana obviously is a healing plant and can be used.
Mushrooms can't
be
mushrooms.
Psilocybin. Yeah, but it's how you use it and the context that you use it in. So just being aware that, you know, if you're taking mushrooms and you go to a club and there's a bunch of drunk people around you, that's not quite the experience that you're gonna want necessarily, and it could be more detrimental than positive. So your spirit is open and you're a lot open to spirits coming in. So that's why you have a shaman, is to protect your body and keeping that space sacred, right? So that's super key, and that's why I say do it with someone that knows what they're doing.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, if everybody can imagine if the President Trump took iboga or ayahuasca, oh my God, it wouldn't just be such a different world.
Yeah.
Any of these presidents or people that are running things, or, you know, people in power, they would realize what they're doing and how they're affecting others, and their heart might crack open, actually.
Do they even have a heart?
That's to be debated, I guess, right?
I was always a big fan of mushrooms and experimented a little bit, but not really the right way I feel, but still like unbelievably like awesomeness. Like
absolutely.
Just so, and, you know, a little bit of acid, you know, growing up, but and even that, I remember it was just like download, like the first time it was like download, like we're all one. It's don't take shit too serious. Just all this, like it was just like, and then just laugh the rest of the time. It was like, oh my God.
And doesn't that feel like your natural state of being? Like that's back to the love and that's freedom. Like being in that state is like you're not trying to stop your thoughts or anything. You're just like, anything is possible. Sure, there's purple dragons flying around me, because they are. We just can't see them right now, right? So that's what I mean by there's so many other dimensions and things going on around us that we can't see right now. Some people can, but for the most part, you know, people think you're crazy if you talk about that kind of stuff. Right. But in actuality, it's all there.
Right.
ETs, whatever you want to, you know, whatever you want to call
different frequencies, different
absolutely.
dimensions.
Yeah, I'd love to go more into that. But you put me on, actually, being amazing, you know, amazing musician yourself, and you put me onto the whole, the 423. I wanted to speak 432. On that a little, 432, sorry. Amazing, like.
Vago actually put me onto that as well. I mean, I researched it as well before, and I wasn't sure if I was a little hesitant to start recording in it, simply because I didn't feel that other people would understand it or they wouldn't know what to do with it. And so it took me a little bit to actually just go there. But when I did, yeah, it's been backed up now with science and so many people talking about it. I mean, it's a sacred geometry of the universe. So when you know, 4 + 3 + 2 is 9, right? So 9 to me is divine. And it's all numbers, right? And the universe is mathematical. It's all geometry. It all comes down to that. So the more research you do and you go down that rabbit hole, it's just like, wow. And not only that, you feel it. So when you do a listening session, for example, in 440 as compared to 432, you feel differently. You feel it in your body in different places. So yeah, sages, monks, all the spiritual people from the past, they were all using instruments in 432. There's a reason for that, because again, they were more connected to Earth and the natural rhythm of her.
And it's only been so, you know, not that long that it's like everything was switched up.
Well, apparently, like, yeah, it was like when the Nazis were in power in like the 40s or something. Apparently,
is that when it was the 40s?
They changed the frequency to 440, and
makes a lot of sense, right?
They hypnotized us.
Yeah.
So everyone's more angry.
Something you should look into, especially musicians.
Absolutely.
That's some real talk right there.
Yeah, it'd be exciting to be in a point where everyone's just like, yeah, 432, because I have to detune my violin. So every time I do 432, and I do sessions for other artists, of course, in 440. So I'm constantly have to retune my violin to do that. So it's not always so feasible to do it on the spot, right? So that's why it's going to take a bit of a changeover, I feel, for people to fully accept it and it become mainstream, which I think the system would have to have a huge overhaul for that to happen, because they do have people hypnotized with 440 right now, and it's working for them. So. Right. But there's a movement, it's happening. People are waking up. Yeah. I have to have hope and faith in that, you know.
That's all the time we have today. We would like to thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
We love your work. Like I said, it's unbelievable. You got to check her out. And so please tell our listeners where they can find you online.
Sure, it's I have a website, SUZKAmusic.com. And on Instagram, it's SUZKA Sound. And I have a YouTube channel, and that's SUZKA Sound as well. And I think Facebook page is SUZKA Music, and I think that's it.
No Twitter?
Oh, and then Spotify and Tidal and all that. I have 4 albums up there, so they're all up finally, all of them. So that's good.
We'll throw some of your links in the description box below. So
great, thank you.
Direct access. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you. Pleasure to be here. Talk with you guys.
Special thank you to everyone who tuned in with us today. Please check out our guest work. We'll have some links in the description box below, as they're our next contender for the next champion of the world.
This episode is brought to you by Zeal's Natural Organic Products and TrueCoreTv. Truth, freedom, love, and the warrior spirit. We out. Peace.